I'm aboard. Okay. Good morning, YouTube. Welcome aboard. We're going to be looking a lot more at the I Just Killed My Dad series this morning and figuring out why my mic keeps going limp. I hope y'all don't mind being patient. We got a couple minutes before. Why does that taste like Bud Light? Which one is it? It's Celsius, raspberry acai. Oh, and green tea. No, I don't like things that taste like watermelon. I love watermelon, but can live without anything that claims to taste like watermelon. Damn it, headphones. Hey, YouTube. I'll be back. Get your shit together, Haldane. I left my Fitbit at home, and I've done more stairs this morning than I had in my life. Oh, my weigh in on Friday? Wait, but it's just kind of weird because, like, it is streaming. Uh huh. But whenever I'm, like, on. But it is. Well, that's what she said. Da, 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 dee. It's up for sure. Okay, which you're gonna have to teach me how to use, because I mean it's simple. That's what we were using on well, Friday. More so for the Go Rouge on Fridays when Franz comes in here and I have. On Friday, that's what we were using. Yeah, it's all good. So I'm the one that last week when school let back in, I was praising how much I wanted the damn routine back. And now that the routine's back, I'm not in the routine yet. So I'm all jacked up. Yeah, backed up and jacked up. It's hot in here too. Are you hot, or have I just been outside too much? Yeah. Okay. Will yesterday's heat continue into this week? WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo with our forecast.
Focus on got yourself good. I always said you could. Joe's on.
This is Mornings with Brian Haldane.
I'm really quite something.
Mornings are for coffee and contemplation.
Newsmakers,
Coffee and contemplation.
traffic and weather.
I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours and I still don't know why.
I don't see you. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Start your day with Baton Rouge's hub for information and opinion.
Your opinion.
Here is Brian Haldane.
.606 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Happy Monday, everybody. Are you back in the swing of things yet? I'm not. We're getting there, though. Last Tuesday, I was singing the praises of school being back in, singing the praises of getting back in the routine. Feeling it now. Oh, my goodness. Welcome to the first week of just the full, all of it, right? Last week, school let back in. This week, all the extracurricular start. Oh, it's full in. It's all in. Gotta love it. Hey, we got a big show lined up. Oh, by the way, Brian here, Alondra producing. Good morning, Alondra. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You looked all fatoots because I made you reach over for the microphone. You weren't ready for that.
I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready for that.
No.
It's okay. It's a Monday, trying to get us jump started here.
Yes.
You know what? We got somebody that can handle that in half an hour.
Who?
Richard Condon. Gonna get us all jump started. I mean, kick your week right in the package.
You know who?
Yeah. Richard Condon, 6:35. We're talking cancer with Our Lady of the Lake at 7:15. Dr. Mo Al-Eshafat is going to join us. Stephen Waguespack, I'm told, is back in town. I believe he's back in town. He better be. Wags will be on with us at 7:35 from the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. In our 8 o'clock hour, Dr. Kathryn Lawing is a forensic psychologist. She used to be here in Louisiana. Now she's up in Colorado. If you watched I Just Killed My Dad, you would recognize the name. She is the one who was brought in to completely give Anthony Tomplay the once-over and everything and the full-on evaluation. Dr. Kathryn Lawing will join us at 8:15. We're taking a bit of a deeper dive into this thing, which I don't know if you noticed or not. But first of all, have you seen it yet? If you have, let us know on YouTube, Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. We'd love to get your feedback and comments on the show. But this little one-off homicide from 3 years ago and right here in Baton Rouge was in Netflix's top 10 over the weekend. I mean, true crime is hella popular, and this one is right at the top. So, yeah, we're going to take a deeper dive into it. I could tell you that aside from, well, we had Jarrett Ambo, defense attorney Jarrett Ambo was on Friday. He was fantastic, by the way. That's available on demand at talk1073.com, though I recommend pulling up Friday's YouTube and fast-forwarding by an hour and 15 minutes to get to his segment, because the things that happen in studio when they're on YouTube, you get a little bit more than you did on air. So we had defense attorney Jarrett Ambo on last Friday. We've got Dr. Kathryn Lawing on this week. I'm working on putting together 2, if not 3 more interviews with people who were in the show. Spoiler alert, no, I'm not seeking out Anthony Tomplay. I don't care how many clicks it would garner. Boy needs to move on. And I don't need him to revisit this. I don't think any of us would actually want him to revisit this. So I'm not going to delve into who I'm going after. It's probably pretty obvious if you've seen the 3 episodes of I Just Killed My Dad. But there will be more. I just can't lay out a timeline yet. All right, before we hit our first break, I got to tell you, that run of having rain every day in Baton Rouge, how badly do you miss it? My heavens. Why are you shaking your head? No. Why are you shaking your head? No.
I don't miss the rain.
No. Okay, Alondra, we've got to teach you to think like a curmudgeonly old man. Because it was so
depressing.
Hot yesterday. Yes, the rain can be depressing. And yes, it kind of stunk that in the first week of school, it persisted, like it insisted on raining.
Couldn't get good back to school pics
during afternoon carpool. And yes, the rain ruined all the outdoor back to school picks because everybody was standing in 3 foot of grass.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm more concerned with my thermostat. I'm more concerned with my electric bill. I'm more concerned with how much my AC has to run when it's like 190 outside. I know, it was like 97. But the difference between what that rain was capable of doing versus what we saw last week or yesterday, I mean, it showed up big time. Big time. That resetting of the temperature in the mid-afternoon proved to be so valuable. And we got the brunt of it yesterday. And like Marissa said, we're going to see some more of it this week. Definitely today, and then probably on through the week as well, as it's not until Thursday where we have a very significant chance of rain moving into the forecast, which, by the way, should stay with us all the way through next weekend. All right, that plus top stories and trending, the outside in, this day in history, and a whole lot more coming your way as the show wears on. Also, within the show, in our next segment, we're going to do a little recap on the Saints and Texans. Did you watch it? What were your takeaways? Feel free to share those on our YouTube channel as well. Tell you what, let's go ahead and break now so we can take a bit of a closer look at the Saints' first preseason game next on Talk 107.3. I'll do it on the way back in. Oh, it tastes like just stale beer. Oh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, then. Yeah. Publish. Forensic psychologist from Netflix's I just killed my dad. More. This morning, got some gabagoo. Hey, morning, Christy. Went well. YouTube. Oh, that's good. 6:15. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Sports time. As stop. We'll just regroup and move on. Oh my goodness. Saints preseason action. I hesitate to even use that word because there wasn't much of it. Saints first preseason game. It happened Saturday evening. Did you watch it? I was underwhelmed to say the least. That being said, you walk into the preseason understanding what you're dealing with, right? You know you're going to get in the first game a bunch of guys you've never heard of, and that's fine. Ultimately, Saints end up losing 17-13 to Houston. However, the first team offense and defense, they look pretty good. Andy Dalton looked very good. If Jameis Winston is going to be a step up from Andy Dalton, I can take some comfort in that. Leading the Saints on a 10-play touchdown drive right out the blocks, where he completed all 5 of his passes, including a 9-yard touchdown pass to Dwayne Washington. Coach Dennis Allen says it was good to see.
Andy did a really good job of, operating the offense. We kind of had a plan to get 10 to 15 plays, and then, getting 10 plays and a touchdown. We felt like that we'd seen enough, and we went on to the second phase.
And that second phase would include Ian Book. We'll get back to him in a second. It was also a good night for linebacker Chase Hansen, who re-signed with the team less than a week ago after spending a couple of seasons on the team's practice squad. Hansen played 24 snaps on defense, 7 on special teams, and had 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and an interception.
But I've always felt really confident when I'm healthy, and that's just it's more about the consistency at this point. But it's been a roller coaster, like I said. I'm just grateful for the Saints, giving me more opportunities because it's a business, and I know that. But it feels good to be back playing.
It does. You hate to see him play and realize it's still a first preseason game. It's like you want to you see a guy like that in the preseason, and that's the guy you want to pull for, but there's this little cynicism in the back of your head saying, realize where you are in the season, realize that there's other dudes that are going to be out there very, very soon. One of the big position battles is for backup running back, with Alvin Kamara's fate still hanging in the balance. Rookie running back Abram Smith had a fumble inside the red zone. Allen says overall, though, the guys competing for that position, they all ran hard.
I thought they ran the ball hard. Again, we'll look at the tape to see, exactly, how they read it. But I felt like they ran the ball hard. Obviously, we got to protect the ball better. We had the ball on the ground a couple of times for the running back position, so we got to do a better job there.
And that can be worked out in the first game. One of the things that Mike Haas and Deuce McAllister were talking about, and Deuce being a former running back, was that when you hit that first real game action, that's where you're going to see those mistakes from a running back, when you have that level of contact at that speed. By the way, for what it's worth, Abram Smith had 7 carries for 30 yards. Tony Jones Jr., 7 for 27. Devine Azigbo, 8 for 26. This was the first NFL game for rookie left tackle Trevor Penning as well, who did not get any unsportsmanlike penalties as far as I know of. Penning played well in the first half, struggled more in the second half, allowing a sack. Penning knows he's got to get better.
It was good to get out here, play an actual NFL game. There's moments I thought I did well. There's moments I definitely need to clean up for sure. That comes with time and reps at it. So, I'll go back on Monday, get over, watch the film, and learn from it.
Next up is Green Bay. Here's the Fox Business Report. Since what? Yeah, big time. Amber's. Oh, good morning, Eric. Good morning, Amber. Good morning, Renee. Feeling slightly nostalgic seeing everyone post their back to school pics of my kids in LSU, and will give me the eye if I did that. Oh God, forcing that down. I'm gonna vomit. I'm going to do Matherns later. I need to do Zealand Street first. All right, you shouldn't have anything grayed out for the rest of the morning. So apparently how I fill my jug up and I'll put it in the freezer, but I'll leave some to put water in so it'll melt. Yeah, I overfilled it on Friday and it was just had ice bubbling out the top. So that's going to be a tough slog this morning. Interesting. Amber says, I noticed that house is still for sale. I think because of full exposure, how hard it would be to sell it. Can you imagine selling the house where Anthony Topley? Yeah. You ever wonder what happens to that? It's an interesting take. I don't know. 625 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Do what, Alondra?
Don't you have to disclose that?
Do you?
I don't know.
We should talk to a real estate person about that.
Yeah.
So in the break, we were talking with our YouTube. We were talking a little bit about the I Just Killed My Dad series, which a lot of us have already seen. If you have not yet, get on it if you're into true crime, because it's different when it's true crime in your own backyard. But Amber says, I noticed that house is still up for sale. I think because of the full exposure, how hard it's going to be to sell it. I wonder, do you have to disclose all that stuff? Like a dude kills his dad. This house was in a Netflix series. Like, you don't have to disclose if a house is haunted. I know that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Right. But like for a murder, I don't know. Can you imagine buying Scott Rogers' house out in Iberville Parish? Like, it was a gorgeous house. Huge house. I mean, you pretty much have to have a really big, nice house to run a cult, right? That's kind of, those two things kind of go hand in hand. If you're going to run a cult, you got to have the amenities. That's
how they get me to join.
You need more than continental
you got
breakfast.
A pool? I'm down.
You're right. The workout center, free Wi-Fi, like the whole works. It's got to be better than a Days Inn. But like selling that thing after a murder-suicide, or with the case in Shenandoah with Topley, just dude kills his dad. Okay, interesting follow-up question to that. Could you buy a house? Would you buy it? Why am I Dr. Seussing this? Could you buy a house? Would you buy? Could you buy a house if you knew someone had been killed in it? Not died of natural causes, someone killed in the house. Let me know on YouTube. Mornings with Brian Haldane, and go ahead and subscribe while you're there. We're going to keep the news moving throughout the morning, but I got to take a moment. Well, this is kind of news-ish. If Zealand Street Market is your spot for breakfast, I'm going to ask you to hold off for a couple days. First time in the history of the show, I've asked you to not visit a sponsor. They'll be closed. Zealand Street Market is closed today and tomorrow. I went by there for lunch on Friday. I had the catfish Lafayette. Oh, gosh, it's so good. It's catfish with crawfish etouffee on top of it. Mustard greens on the side, a little bit of cornbread as well. So good. Anyway, they're a top-notch spot for breakfast. In fact, Miss Stephanie's going to be making us breakfast this Friday for Foodie Friday. Yes, we have not had a breakfast on a Foodie Friday yet. This week we will when Zealand Street Market makes us some brisket biscuits. For reals. Anyway, they're closed today and tomorrow. They're redoing the parking lot. It's all chopped up as they tore out the parking lot, and we'll be pouring a new one. So, got to ask you to hold back. I know, it's tough. It is tough to not visit Zeeland Street Market. But for today and tomorrow, please, I guess you could pack a PB&J until they reopen for Fried Chicken Wednesdays. All right. Did you see the article in The Advocate about new education standards in the schools? Alondra, I know this isn't what was on our sheet. I'm kind of shifting on the fly here. The headline reads, "Push to revamp public schools sparks a split in the education community." Quote, "Time to raise the bar." Will Sintel from The Advocate reports, state education leaders and local school superintendents are on a collision course over a proposal to overhaul the state's accountability system for public schools. State Superintendent of Education Dr. Cade Brumley and others want to toughen rules for high schools to earn an A rating. They also want to authorize Louisiana's first accountability system for students in kindergarten, first, and second grade to make it harder to boost their grades through academic growth. Quote, "We've been having this conversation for 2 years," Brumley said, noting that a study group of the state's Board of Elementary and Secondary Education has scrutinized the issue for the past 7 months. Back to the quote, "There's been plenty of opportunity for feedback, and we've accepted it. But the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents, which represents system leaders statewide, labeled the proposed changes drastic and hasty. They've asked that a new study be launched with input from superintendents, principals, school board members, and parents." Here comes the fun part. You ready? Quote, "We are not opposed to accountability," said Mike Falk, executive director of the Association for School Superintendents, "but superintendents and school systems have to implement all of this." Oh, how sweet and beautiful is that? I have no problem with accountability, so long as I'm the one that's overseeing said accountability. I have no problem with living up to a standard, so long as I'm the one that sets and evaluates that standard. That's hella convenient right there. By the way, Bessie is set to debate the issue on August 23rd, and the plans, they cover a lot of ground. Dr. Brumley, from the time he took over as the state superintendent of education, and it's been kind of a running bit on this show, he joins us every month, is that everything he did for the first year and a half to 2 years was either COVID or hurricane related. He's been chomping at the bit to get to some real reform and real action. Might be overreaching on this one, but can you raise your hand if you could say you're comfortable with where the state is right now? Education-wise? No, you can't. So expect some movement, to say the very least. All right, we had a break. We're going to check news. We're going to check traffic. We're going to check weather. When we come back, time to kickstart your week with Richard Condon. That's coming up next on Talk 107.3 FM. Morning, KC. Let's go. Oh man, I love that quote by Michael Falk, right? Hey, I'm not opposed to accountability. I got to do it though. No one else can hold me accountable but me. It's, you know what? Yeah. Try telling that to your personal trainer, right? Try telling that to your doctor when he says you got to lose weight. Hey, you don't tell me to lose weight. I tell me to lose weight. You don't tell me to lower my blood pressure. I do. All right. I'm going to step away for about 30 seconds. I got to get myself some water. Normally, I would just pour it from my jug here, but I overfroze my water. And also, I pulled it out of the freezer like half an hour later than usual, so it hasn't had time to thaw.
I'll entertain the YouTube.
Okay, yes, please.
Hey, YouTube. I'm sorry, I'm not entertaining. Brian is more fun than I am. Oh, thank God. He's back.
What, were you flailing over here? You didn't even have time to tell them that joke.
What joke?
I don't know. Kind of put you on the spot to tell a joke now,
Yeah,
right?
I don't have any jokes.
Okay, fine. Eric says coveralls.
I guess these are coveralls.
Yeah. She's got a side gig painting houses later.
Yeah. I actually have to paint my bathroom.
Hey, there's a disturbance in the Atlantic, Eric. Did you see it? It's not going to do anything. Fish storms. Where's the fun in that?
I only take things that I don't get at a pharmacy.
I make it a habit of taking pills I find on the ground in a parking lot.
Yeah. Like pill roulette.
Fish storm. Yep. It is. And it won't even really be that. Excuse me. Oh man, I got an update on that story. Okay. Oh no. A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Morning, T-Bob.
Hi, T-Bob. Not much.
Eric says, I hope my vacation home in the Bermuda fares well. I mean, my sugar mama. I mean, it's barely going to be some rain.
I'd be friends with Eric.
No, Byron, no, because she will, and that'll just end badly.
What?
He says, next time you have to entertain us, Alondra, tell us details about your Helen Keller theory. I don't know why you would start her down that path. That is awful.
I actually sent Brian something the other day.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, we will not talk about that.
Well, let's talk about it.
No.
Just kidding.
Can't get much fancier than that.
Here's this.
Well, they don't make the full poster until after the year, Rich. You got to have a full 12 months.
That's what my wife tells me all the time. Worry about you. Stop worrying about everybody else. And she makes a good point. I don't believe it, but she does make a good point.
You don't blind or
No. He's talking about something completely different.
Oh.
Completely different.
I think Alondra's got the best last name ever.
Wait, weather real quick. Do the weather real quick.
All right, let's get a look at the forecast. How's the week stacking up? Here's WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo.
Okay, there we go.
Good Lord.
Cool
What deaf person was on?
If I ever get married, I'm not.
There's a whole county in Ireland.
If I ever get married, I'm not changing my last name. I'm gonna keep it. Maybe I'll hyphenate it.
Well, too bad you don't get to live your whole life being called Dick Condom. See what we got? A little chat going on?
Yeah. Jason says, I have a friend. We were asking them. So the Anthony Tomplay, the house is still for sale.
Oh, I saw that on Netflix.
You watched it?
I watched the first two. Then, his old man was nuts, and then he's weird, so I stopped watching.
Well, he's weird because his old man was nuts.
I know, but he's still weird. I don't need to see him being weird anymore. His old man was a nut job. I got it. So he'll look good on that.
He'll look good. Yeah.
How there ain't nothing wrong with a little Zeppelin in the morning, my friend.
Just saying, I need energy. I need a little life and energy, not. All right.
This is my mood, so.
No, I understand, but it's about elevating the mood, not just sitting where you exist.
I want to feel this, though.
All right.
I got to go through the motions.
638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to kick your week into gear. Here comes Richard Condon. Rich, wait, first of all, when did you get taller? Like, what is going on with the chair?
Oh, there's one of those fancy little chairs in your studio, Haldane, with a little lever. You just pull it up, and that son of a bug will pop.
Lever. Dude, that chair is super tall. Good. Brother. How are you? I'm good.
Hey, I'm just shocked that Ian Book could lead Notre Dame to 2 college football playoff games. That's the same dude who led Notre Dame against Clemson in Alabama. And by the way, I made my first cut, number 37, Brian Allen, third-year guy out of Utah. Done.
Okay.
He's gone.
They got to cut the roster from 90 down to 85 this week.
Well, you remember Hillary.
However, will they find 5 guys to just get rid of?
Hillary's cap is not selling that well, but her emails, they're not selling that well. Those are the T-shirts. You didn't see her cap?
No.
She's selling a cap, but her emails. Alondra, you saw the cap? Did you see the cap?
I didn't see it.
All right, you didn't see the cap. You didn't see the cap. And if anybody's wondering why I'm on the show, that's why. Neither one of these knuckleheads seen the cap. She's selling a cap.
I care about Hillary Clinton's merchandise?
Yes, merchandise, a cap, Brian, right there on the front.
I understand where it would be on the
America
cap.
Great again. She's selling a cap right there on the bill with
it says
but her emails.
But her emails.
Right. Now, I came out
How
with
much did it go for?
$30.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
So, look, I came up with a couple of different ideas if that one doesn't sell well.
Okay. What you got?
But then it doesn't mean much because you or Alondra did not see the cap yet.
Right.
Anyway, you might need a cap and a T-shirt. This is pretty wordy here. It'd be hard to put this one on the front.
It starts on the cap and ends on the T-shirt. You got to get them to buy both.
That's exactly right. That's a good point, Brian. That's what I'm trying to say.
Merchandising, yes.
Next time I'll try to slow it down a little bit. Check this out. My husband did not have sex with Miss Lewinsky, Miss Broderick, Miss Wiley, nor Paula Jones. How you like that one?
I like that one.
I'd buy that one.
Yeah.
How you like this one?
That can continue on the front and back of the shirt.
How about this one? Natural born killer.
Wow. That could fit on a hat.
Do you realize that 71 Clinton associates died mysteriously or committed suicide before testifying?
So
71, dude. 71. And it starts with Vincent Foster.
It does. And that's one of the, so of all the conspiracy theories out there, that's one that that's a number that's too big to get past. How do you have that many people just in your life just randomly off?
How about this one? Clinton Foundation, helping those in need. How about this one? My husband loves blue dresses with white polka dots.
Tagline of the Clinton Foundation?
How you like that one?
Say the last one again.
Yeah, my husband loves blue dresses with white polka dots. How about this one? That big hit by the Thompson Twins in 1982. Lies, 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 yeah.
Oh, man.
You like that?
I missed the Thompson
Twins. You ever DJ the VFW Hall wedding playing that bad boy?
Yeah, maybe not that song.
But 2001 White House furniture blowout sale.
I like it. Yes, I do.
How about this? Benghazi, the starting place of love, hope, and dreams. What about that?
That's so wrong.
Hey, look, we got 87,000 coming, new IRS agents. You heard about that, Brian, or do I have to lay that one out, too?
No, that's actual news.
Good.
That's
You did hear about that one.
Yeah.
Alondra?
No.
Yes, you did. We talked about
in Fuego. How about this, Brian? We need 87,000 more border agents.
Yep.
How about this?
Oh, I did hear about this.
We need 87,000 registered Democrats in every state to switch parties.
Yeah,
How about that?
I'll take that.
How about this? This country needs 87,000 more men to become fathers instead of seed planters. What about that? What about this, Haldane? This country needs to capture 87,000 more illegals every month. How about that? We'll cut down that number from 115,000.
Mm-hmm.
How about this? The next mayor's election in Baton Rouge, we need 87,000 more people to vote for the Republican candidate.
Well, good luck with
Brim
that.
got 98,000 last time. How How about this? According to the latest statistics, there are 150,000 transgender teenagers in America. We need 87,000 more parents need to tell their kids, God gave you a hit. It's right below your belly button. I like that.
I do.
Can I talk about an assaholic?
Sure.
Assaholic.
I see no way of stopping you. Go for it.
Assaholic.
Yes.
Shauna Banks.
Oh, man. What'd she do now?
Assaholic. You know, Shauna Banks wears a pointed cap with a robe to work every day. Nobody knows the color, though. Check this out. She said this last week at the Metro Council meeting. You know, they were talking about officers living outside the city, voted on a pay raise.
Yep.
She said this. Now, I'm not making this up. Here's what she said. 43% of Baton Rouge police officers live outside the parishes because racism. And that the racist officers were hired by previous administrators. Shauna Banks, if you had any positive influence on those who reside in your district, crime would be less in the city of Baton Rouge.
Very much true.
Now, listen
Very
to
much
this.
true.
John Doce.
Who?
I got this information. I'm going to tell you. He's the current elected rep of the Baton Rouge Police Department Civil Service Board.
Oh.
He wrote an email to Shauna Banks letting her know that she blatantly disparaged men and women who risk their lives every day and that many of the Baton Rouge police officers are minorities, including the chief of police. Shauna Banks is nothing but the wicked witch of North Baton Rouge. Her political career has been kept alive by people in District 2 living in a constant state of dependency. That's Shauna Banks. Here's what's amazing. How come I'm the only no-good son of a bugger in this city, in this parish that calls her out?
You're not.
Everybody's afraid to. They don't come out publicly. Maybe an eyeball
call her
over
out.
a couple of cold beers.
No, there's no topic that's ever
But
come
you know
before the
what's
Metro
amazing?
Council
Here's what's
where it doesn't
amazing.
come down to racism for Shauna Banks.
A woman with that racist mindset, you ready?
Yeah.
We are paying for her salary because she is a counselor, a school counselor in East Baton Rouge Parish. Do you think the white kids are getting the same advice? I don't think so. It's amazing. All right, Haldane, look. You and the wife like to have kinky sex?
No, I'm not in anything kinky.
I'm not going to ask Alondra because she could be my daughter, and that's not a class thing to do.
Right.
But check this out. Louisianians have to pick it up. Now, the service bestlifeonline.com, they came out with people in which states have the kinkiest sex. Okay?
Okay.
Guess where Louisiana ranks? There's a Bon Temps Roulette. We like having a couple of cocktails. We like partying. We rank 47th in the country as far as the amount of times we have kinky sex. Now, let me tell you something. I've gone up to my wife a number of times and said, look, I'll dress up like Mr. Magoo. You dress up like Betty Rubble. She won't do it. Not only that, I tried to make it a Louisiana thing. I'll dress up like Justin Wilson.
Oh, goodness.
Guarantee if you dress up like Britney Spears. And she won't do it. Matter of fact, I'll tell you one thing, Haldane.
Yeah.
One time in our relationship, honeymoon night, August 31st, it'll be 38 years. Back in 84,
I don't need to know
we
this.
did it in the quarter with the lights on.
Is that what counts?
Lights on, dude.
See, that's the thing, though. Like, I'm not, like, what counts? I don't want you answering that. I don't want you answering what counts as
Check this
kinky.
out. All right, Maine's number 3, Oregon's number 2, Vermont's number 1.
Yeah,
We're
you know
number
why?
47.
You know
47.
why? You find something fun to do in those places. We got enough to do outside of the bedroom.
Haldane, I want to tell you something else.
It's clearly places that are boring are where they start doing these things.
Well, look, let me tell you, we got 20 days from now, right? 20 days.
I'm guessing LSU football.
Florida State.
Yeah,
It's going to be huge.
It is.
Going to be huge. Lay the number, Haldane. Lay the number, bud.
Already did. By the way, not to get back to your previous topic, but you know that's the same weekend as Decadence Fest, right?
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Quarter's going to be packed.
Let me tell you something. Right there, I think Poydras, right there, like they got a huge outdoor concert that begins at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Getting LSU fans and getting those folks together, you want to talk about a weekend of partying.
Not just the LSU fans. Think about the folks, those innocent folks coming in from Tallahassee that have no clue.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something, Brian. You know, all the students at Southern University now are going to have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
You saw that?
Yep. When they get back
really
into
gonna
school
wear
next
a
week.
mask in public after LSU gets a hold of them. Week 2 of the season, they're going to be wearing a mask all over town.
This is why I didn't want this game. Right here is why I didn't want this game. I don't want to pull against Southern ever.
I want this game. Real quick, I want this game, Haldane, because I've been hearing for years and years and years, got a bunch of good Southern fans, friends of mine. You know what they say?
What?
The only difference between LSU and Southern is that they have more people on the roster. They get 85. We only get 65. Our frontliners can play against LSU. And I kept saying, okay. One day. Guess what day that's going to be?
September 10th.
That's exactly right.
He's Richard Condon. You find him down the hall on Eagle 98.1. Appreciate you, brother.
Shauna Banks.
Talk about you the only one calls out Shauna Banks.
What's that?
Everything Shauna Banks says everyone else is racist. It doesn't matter the topic, Rich. I do.
Yeah, but I mean, like the local people. How come nobody ever goes up to him with a mic like Nakamoto?
I don't
get away with this.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because it's tired. It's tired. They did it for a little while, and then it's just you get tired of playing the same card.
I want somebody to go up to Room and go, hey, this letter you wrote saying that Kamala and Joe Biden were going to unite this country. Now, this is the letter you sent out. You still believe that, Miss Broom? You still think they're uniting this country?
I'm so sick of the uniting the country talk because both sides of the equation say we will unite this country as soon as everybody agrees with us. Whether you're on Donald Trump's side or the other side. Whether you're on Joe Biden's side or Donald Trump's side. We'll unite this country as soon as you capitulate. 1 minute. Sorry. Appreciate you, Rich. Call her out to her face. So there are 9 Metro Council members who return my calls. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, traffic after. No, you're too young for that. Could you hear Condon through the head? Because Condon sounded fine on our end. Got a listener asking why he sounded like Elmer Fudd. Very noticeable. When we get a chance, when we get to your money now, wait. Yeah. Perfect. Good job. Yeah. Condon. So listen to it in Sterlitz. Jeez. Huh? Yeah. All right. Radio. All right, we're going to squeeze all those abortion topics into one here. But we're going to go in backwards order. All right, what's going on YouTube? I apologize. I had to step away for a minute to clear up. Okay. Yes. Oh. .653 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to Richard Condon. I have no idea what just happened, but thanks again to Richard Condon. It's got to be nice to have that life, right? What hat? How you going to find a hat? And he leads with it. I don't, like, it's intentional that we do no prep for that segment. I want to be hit by surprise for that segment. A hat? Whatever. Anyway, he had a cute little list of things he'd like on a hat instead. Hey, a lot of news came down Friday on the abortion front, as abortion is once again illegal in the state of Louisiana. It has gone back and forth a good bit, depending on which court you've been in. And now the state Supreme Court on Friday rejected an appeal by abortion rights advocates seeking to keep clinics open, arguing that the law was too vague to enforce. Loyola University law professor, and you heard this in our news at the bottom of the hour, Dane Cialino, says the high court's denial does not surprise him. He feels the plaintiff's argument didn't hold up.
The court's denial of the plaintiff's request for relief really signals the end of any hope that they had of getting a court to allow abortions to happen in Louisiana.
Now, pro-choice advocates are angry there's such a law in place at all. But you needed to argue that during the legislative session or the session where they passed the law. They're angry that there's a law at all, but especially so that the law has no exemptions for rape or incest, which I want to dig into that a little bit further because that's come into question. Governor Edwards, who signed the bill into law himself, also expressed that concern. Cialino says the high court's judgment sends a message on abortions.
The message couldn't be clearer to people across the state of Louisiana, which is if you want abortion rights protected, you need to go to the state house rather than to the courthouse.
Which is how this has been set up from the start, which is why I haven't understood the way it's played out, simply because laws are written in the state legislature. They're not to be argued on in any court except for the constitutionality of those laws, which I don't think they've made the right case here. Cialino says this marks the end of the battles, and if there are to be further exemptions for abortions, there is a process to get that done.
If that sort of exception is going to exist, it's not going to be a judicially created exception or right. It's going to be one that's got to be created by the legislature and signed into law by the governor.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, is the way our Constitution sets it up, both nation and state. That is why we have different branches of government. This is high school civics. Now, moving from the analysis side over to the Louisiana Family Forum, Gene Mills says that looking back on it, he's pleased with the decision that paves the way for abortions to, just make themselves illegal.
And I don't believe that they can continue to litigate this beyond the state Supreme Court. The final ruling's coming in a matter of moments, and it's going to be Louisiana's law. It reflects a pro-life position.
Where would you go beyond the state Supreme Court? Back to the U.S. Supreme Court, who already ruled to kick it back down to the states? Back to the U.S. Supreme Court, who decided this in the first place? That's what got this whole ball rolling. Now, not to get too much into the weeds, but it would be an interesting argument to take it back to the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing that it is too vague. Our particular law. To go back in front of the U.S. Supreme Court and say, yes. Abortion needs to be handled on a state-by-state level. But within our state, here's the problem we have. Devontae Lewis with the Louisiana Budget Project says the state is not prepared for the influx of children that will be living in poverty because already 62% of children in Louisiana are born as Medicaid recipients.
I just don't think the legislature is getting beyond kind of this narrow-minded view about what ending abortion as we know it means and really looking at the facts of what's happening in our state.
Think about the weight of that comment. If you're going to be born poor, don't be born at all. I'm going to say that again. If you're going to be born poor, don't be born at all. Now, am I taking what he said to the nth degree? Absolutely. But isn't that the nature of what he had to say? Whoa, guys. We can't make abortion illegal because we've got to kill off these kids or else we'll have to pay for them. That's where pro-choice advocates always run into a wall. Right there. The possibility of legislation to amend the ban for exceptions to allow race or incest, that possibility would be on the table if they go back and rewrite the laws. Mills believes, though, that it's highly unlikely.
But if you hold a position that life begins at conception, which the Louisiana legislature and most of its residents have always held, we've debated that ad nauseum. We think that that's going to hold, and Louisiana's own record as being a pro-life state.
You're still a pro-life state with exceptions, though. And that's where I think a lot of the reasonable people that would make the argument fall to the wayside because the extremes of both arguments, the extremes on both ends, they just shout louder at the end of the day. I'm going to have to put a button on this because we got to get. The bottom line of it is we're not going to see any more actual action until at least the next legislative session. And I wouldn't bet on that because it's a fiscal session limiting other bills. Sorry. I ran us up. I ran us way up. The ID did? Oh, well. KC says he sits with a notepad and a remote in his lazy boy all weekend. Yeah, I had basketball evaluations, a basketball coaches meeting, a men's group, 2 birthday parties, church, and what else? There were 2 other things going on over the weekend. Oh, one daughter went to cotillion. It's a lot harder to care about shit that doesn't matter when you have a life. Hillary Clinton selling hats. Why do I care? And there's never going to be a time where I can get through to him that most of us have a limited capacity of things we choose to be angry about. I got to run upstairs real quick.
So Helen Keller. I'm just kidding. Hey, I'm supposed to entertain y'all again. Hi. I'll take questions. Questions are open to the floor.
Shauna Banks wrote, we need city leaders, particularly a mayor that's not trying to serve all the people in Baton Rouge equally. Yeah. And I'm of the opinion now, like, does it do any good to just continually be angry with her? Or just wipe her off of my radar? I fall into the trap all the time. I get angry. I get triggered. Sure. She is a blatant racist. Huh? Did I do that? Oh. Yeah. Missiles slammed into the apartment complex. That ranks later down in the news than Anne Heche. Okay, this is the same story. Do not do the story twice, dipshit. What the hell? Time to set the table for the week. When it comes to the forecast, here is WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo. Mm-hmm. There we go. No, Casey, we're not. He's asking what your thoughts are on it.
Not got that. Not got that. It's comfort. Anyway.
Seven oh six, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Hour number 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Alondra producing. Busy hour this hour. We've got Medical Monday coming your way in our next segment. Let's talk about cancer, specifically abdominal cancer. Actually, I say specifically, but that still covers a lot of ground. Dr. Mo Al Eshafat going to join us in our next segment. Full disclosure, I recorded this one on Friday, and he's really good. A lot of information coming your way. Also, we'll talk with LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Stephen Waguespack going to join us later on this hour, and we'll have the outside in before the hour is over with. However, we do start the hour with Top Stories and Trending. Top Stories and Trending presented every day by the folks over at St. James Place. Are you looking to open up that next chapter of your life? Are you looking at entertaining that next chapter of your life? I'm talking about that chapter that includes retirement and beyond. If so, check out the folks over at St. James Place. You'll find them on Lee, right by Highland Road. Beautiful campus behind those gates. And when you have the campus behind the gates, folks start, making assumptions. Myths start evolving. Myths like, that's a retirement home. It's a nursing home. And they get the nursing care there. But it's an all-inclusive retirement community. Myths start happening like, well, behind those gates, clearly you have to be a millionaire to get in. Yeah, a number of options make it way more affordable than you would think. Myths start happening like, Well, I'm too young to be there. I'm going to go there when I'm like in my 80s. Average age of getting in is right around 70, sometimes even younger than that. You don't have to be retired. You could be approaching retirement. There are a number of residents over at St. James Place that are not yet retired. They got that residence gate. It's very busy with the in and out over there. stjamesplace.org is the website, stjamesplace.org, or call them at 215-4500 when you're looking at opening that next chapter of your life. Check out St. James Place. Live life well. They bring you top stories in trending, which is happening now.
What do you hear? What do you say? Tell me what happened.
Now, top stories in trending
5, 4, 3, 2, I let one go.
on Talk 107.3 FM.
The most trusted name in news.
I want to know absolutely everything that's happened up to now.
Number 5.
A man was arrested after allegedly exposing himself to employees and customers outside of business on Essen Lane Friday afternoon. East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office said 30-year-old Marvin Murphy was taken into custody following reports he was flashing people in front of Rouge Nutrition on Essen right before 1 p.m. on Friday. Deputies responded to the business where they were told a man had pulled down his shorts and exposed himself to employees and customers. Front and back exposure, I guess, would be the short description. Murphy was booked to the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison on a charge of obscenity, held on a $3,000 bond.
Number 4.
A woman was heard screaming rape after a brutal attack in a Breck Park on South Herald Ferry Road Wednesday afternoon. BRPD said Friday the incident happened shortly after 2 p.m. Wednesday at the Forest Community Park. Officers told our news partners at WBRZ a woman was walking along a park trail when she was attacked by a male suspect. A source said they saw the woman covered in blood and bruises screaming for help after the assault. Quote, if a person was bold enough to attack someone in broad daylight, it's not to say it's their first time. It's not to say it'll be their last time. A witness said the rapist is a black male with short braids around 5'8" or 5'11", weighing around 200 pounds. He may have a broken nose. BRPD did not provide a description of the suspect.
Number 3.
A man was found shot to death along Florida Boulevard Saturday night after a domestic incident, and the family of the shooter says a woman shot her boyfriend out of self-defense. BRPD said the 24-year-old Kaylin Shaw's body was found in a grassy area along Florida Boulevard near Jones Creek shortly before 9:30 p.m. Tuesday. Florida Jones Creek. So that would be just past Sharp. So between Sharp and Maryland is what we're talking about there. Officers said Shaw was shot and killed in a domestic incident. Family members of Shaw's girlfriend, the alleged shooter, said the girlfriend shot and killed Shaw in self-defense.
Number 2.
One person was killed in a shooting outside a gas station on Plank Road Sunday afternoon. BRPD said the shooting happened shortly before 4 p.m. Sunday outside the Save More gas station at the intersection of Plank and Evangeline. Police tell our news partners at WBRZ one victim was shot and killed at the scene. No information on a suspect or a motive has been released at this time.
Number 1.
One person was hospitalized after a shooting this morning. Sources say the person was in stable condition after being shot shortly before 2 a.m. on Briar Rose Drive off Segan Lane. Law enforcement not out with a whole lot of details on this. We're leaning again on our news partners at WBRZ for it. This is a developing story. We'll have more information for you should more information come out throughout the morning. Those are your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending today. Nearly a week before classes for the fall semester begins, Southern University announced they will be reinstating a mask mandate for all buildings on campus. Following statement was released by Southern officials yesterday evening. Quote, in an effort to continue to keep its campus community safe amid the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Southern University system will reinstate its indoor mask mandate on all campuses effective Monday, August 15th, 2022. This includes Southern University and A&M College, SUNO, Southern University at New Orleans, Southern University Shreveport, Southern University Law Center, and Southern University Agricultural Research and Extension Centers. So Southern, going back to the mask wearing in the classroom. Those are your top stories and trending. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back from that break, it'll be time for Medical Monday, presented by Our Lady of the Lake, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Yeah, it is. There should have been a folder for today with it in there. I recorded at 2 p.m. Friday. Jason says, I love Forest Park, but the wife and I stopped going a year ago. Disturbing and uncomfortable things going on there before this. I'll never vote for another Breck tax. Yeah. This isn't Breck's fault, though. I don't know. It's not fully Breck's fault. Can we figure out a way? Well, Forest Park is a great park. Should be a great park, at least. It should be. So, if you're familiar at all with anything down in Jefferson Parish, Lafreniere Park in Metairie, right? Or Kenner. Lafreniere Park is what Forest Park should be. Breck's going to need to figure out a way in short order. Breck's going to need to figure out a way to get more police presence in their parks. Yeah, I'm not sure how. I probably has something to do with the interface. We moved to a new interface.
Yes, absolutely. So when we mention the word abdomen, it can mean different things to different people, but we can refer to the abdomen as mainly the gastrointestinal tract, meaning the part of your abdomen that's in control of taking the food and digesting the food. It will also include the liver, the pancreas, and the bile duct, which include basically is involved in the processing and the digestion of the food. There are other organs inside the body. For example, in females, the uterus and the ovaries. In males, the prostate. There's also, the kidneys and the urinary bladder, and we will not be talking about these because these are outside my field of expertise. I am a surgical oncology, and I deal mostly with the gastrointestinal cancers, as well as liver, pancreas, and bile duct. So we'll focus our discussion mainly on these cancers, which are also common cancers.
And so are they common? Because normally when we hear about cancer, we always hear about breast cancer, we always hear about lung cancer, prostate, ovarian. Those get a lot of headlines as well. How common are abdominal cancers?
Absolutely. So when you look at the kind of the list of most common cancers, you're right that breast cancer, lung cancer, prostate are the most common cancers, but also colon cancer is one of the most common cancers, and it's the most common cancer inside the abdomen. So out of all these organs that I mentioned, colon and rectal cancer is the most common. About 1 in 25 people would get colon cancer during their lifetime. So every year in the U.S., there's 150,000 new cases of colon cancer, and unfortunately more than 50,000 deaths due to colon cancer alone. Now, when we talk about pancreas cancer, it is also on the list of the most common cancer. It's about number 10. Pancreas cancer, it's a deadly cancer. It's aggressive cancer, so we need to focus more attention on it. And there's a lot of research going on to come up with more effective treatment for pancreas cancer. There's about 60,000 cases of pancreas cancer every year, but these 60,000 cases are responsible for more than almost 50,000 cases of death due to cancer, meaning although pancreas cancer is not as common as colon cancer, but it causes almost as many deaths and it's currently number 2 on the list of most cancer deaths, unfortunately.
So while percentage-wise you're less likely to come down to have this kind of cancer, percentage-wise you're less likely overall. But if you do have it, the likelihood that the outcome is not going to be in your favor goes up. So it's clearly a deadlier cancer. Is this because of I don't want to say a lack of awareness, because everybody's working on cancer across the board, or is it just tougher to treat, harder to diagnose and treat?
That is a great question. So the way you phrase it is exactly right. You're more likely to get colon cancer. You're less likely to get pancreas cancer. But when you get either one, you're more likely to die of pancreas cancer. And the reason for which is multiple reasons. First of all, pancreas cancer does not cause symptoms that the patient would notice early on in the disease. So the classic symptom for pancreas cancer is turning yellow. Yeah, the medical term for that is jaundice. So when you have a cancer in what we call the head of the pancreas, usually the tumor has to grow to a large size to cause blockage of your bile duct so that you end up turning yellow. Sometimes it causes pain, sometimes even subtle things like new onset diabetes might be an early sign of pancreas cancer. But because pancreas cancer does not present early, a lot of patients present at stage 3 or stage 4, which makes treatment options limited. While if we find it early at stage 1 and 2, then you have a higher chance of cure. And in that stage, you have about 30 to 40% chance of long-term survival when it's an early cancer.
I have a hunch I know the answer to this one, but is it more common in men or women?
You're absolutely, your hunch is right. It is slightly more common in men than women.
Thinking as a man, I'm like, these are some symptoms I'd probably ignore too. And like all other cancers, the earlier the detection, the more likely the treatment is going to help out. But if it sits there, if it lies in wait for longer, then clearly that's a different enemy. Who, aside from sex, men and women, who is most at risk for these types of cancers?
All right, so each cancer is different, but let's focus on the colon cancer or colorectal cancer and pancreas cancer. So for colorectal cancer, it's mainly the highly processed food that is mainly like processed meat, red meat, low-fiber diet that does not include lots of fruits and vegetables. So when I say processed food, it's any kind of food that you buy in a package that has, a list of ingredients, multiple things. For example, when you go and buy a cookie, for example, these are considered, processed food. While you go and buy an apple, there's one ingredient in that. It's just one apple. And obviously, I'm not asking people to eat apple, every day, but it's all about, moderation and kind of like, avoiding the processed food, avoiding fried food as much as possible. I know, we live in Baton Rouge. It's impossible to avoid it altogether, but the majority, kind of the average of your diet should include lots of fruits and vegetables. Avoiding alcohol. I know it's also hard to completely avoid alcohol, but drinking in moderation, and that means 1 drink a day for women and 2 drinks for men. But even that, avoiding alcohol altogether is the way to go. What I mentioned is the actual definition of moderate drinking, but what we recommend as cancer expert, avoiding alcohol altogether. Smoking is the same thing. Obviously, it's connected to lung cancer the most, but it can cause pancreas cancer, it can cause colon cancer. Also, obesity. Obesity can cause both colon cancer and pancreas cancer. And lastly, it's things that we can't control, with, like you said, the age, the gender, but also genetic factors, meaning sometimes we inherit mutations from our parents. These mutations in our DNA can make us more susceptible to developing both colon cancer and pancreas cancer.
3.5 years I've been doing this segment. You're the first one to get in an apple a day reference. Nicely done.
That's shocking.
Yeah. We're talking with Dr. Mo Al-Efashat. We're talking about abdominal cancers. So with the cleaner eating and whatnot, do we know why? Do we know what it is about processed food that causes this?
Yes. So
that's my favorite question.
I would say a lot of cancers, if not most cancers, have inflammation as the root cause at some point in their development. Mm-hmm. And what inflammation is basically our usual immune cells, and they basically proliferate in an uncontrolled, manner, and that kind of proliferation of cells lead to cancer. Things that can cause inflammation are these processed foods, the smoking, the alcohol. All of that triggers inflammation in our body, and with inflammation, you have cells that are rapidly dividing, and that might lead to mutations and then to cancer. So that's the kind of one way cancer can develop. Sometimes it's a different pathway, but this is one of the pathways in which these bad kind of lifestyle habits can cause to cancer. It's through the inflammation.
Let's talk treatment real quick. Start with the basics, and then we'll get into some of the late-stage treatment after that.
Yes, and can I just make one more comment about,
Absolutely.
We talked about, eating healthy, avoiding the smoke and alcohol, but also for colon cancer, it is really, really important to undergo screening colonoscopy. So after the age of 45, for both men and women, you're supposed to get a colonoscopy. There are other tests that are adjuncts to colonoscopy. I think colonoscopy is the most important, but for some people who can't undergo colonoscopy, they can have tests of blood in the stool, and if they have that, then they will undergo a colonoscopy. If you have a family member with cancer and you underwent genetic testing and that showed a mutation, you might be a candidate for undergoing high-risk screening for pancreas cancer. Mm-hmm. And at Our Lady of the Lake, we have a clinic, actually the only clinic here in the city for pancreas cancer high-risk screening for patients who have family history of pancreas cancer. We also have a new program to monitor pancreas cysts that can turn into cancer. So if you get a CAT scan and we find a pancreas cyst incidentally on your CAT scan, we now plug you into a clinic that monitor these cysts so that they don't develop to pancreas cancer. Because like I said, pancreas cancer, once it develops, the prognosis is bad. So the goal is to catch it before it even turns into cancer.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, fantastic points. Thank you for the follow-up on that. Got a couple minutes left with Dr. Mo Al-Efachat. We're talking abdominal cancers, and let's move the conversation to treatment. What treatments are available?
So the treatment for cancer usually involves a combination of surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, depending on the type of cancer. For example, for rectal cancer, you're likely to get all three of these, especially if the tumor is kind of in a moderate stage. For pancreas cancer, it's also the same, especially if it's involving the blood vessels. You will get a combination of chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. Now, for cancers that has spread to the inside of the abdomen, we started a program here at the Lake for a surgery called Cytoreductive Surgery and HIPEC. HIPEC stands for hyperthermic or heated intraperitoneal chemotherapy. This is for cancers that has already spread or metastasized to the inside of the abdomen. And for certain colorectal cancer, for certain cancers of the appendix, sometimes cancer of the stomach, we can go in, remove all the visible metastasis or the spread of the cancer, and then infuse hot chemotherapy into the abdomen with a chance for cure. And we started this program. I've done the first surgery last month, and it went very well, and the patient did well. And we have more information about this on our website.
Yeah, OLOLRMC.com/cancer/cancer, OLOLRMC.com/cancer. That is fascinating stuff. This is it sounds like this could be a game changer long term.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's all about selecting the right patients for that, but it definitely gives hope for a certain group of patients who otherwise have no option or would be sent to hospice. So it is exciting, and I'm looking forward to helping as many patients as possible.
I'm looking forward to hearing the stories as well, but we are straight up out of time for right now. Dr. Mo Al-Efachat, thank you so much for the time today.
Absolutely. You're most welcome.
727 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks to Dr. Mo Al-Efachat. Fascinating stuff right there. Talking about abdominal cancers. We're going to talk business in our next segment. Stephen Waguespack from LABI will be on the hotline in our next segment. I'm sure we have no shortage of things to talk about as we shift the focus towards the upcoming election cycle. But that's not until our next segment. I want to tell you very quickly about the folks over at Mathern's Market as we gear up towards football season. Yes, LSU football will kick off on September 4th, but you won't start tailgating on campus until September 10th when Southern University is going to be in Tiger Stadium. As you prepare for tailgating, I love to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's Market. They are your go-to on game day for sure. If you forgot something or if you intentionally were packing light to get out to campus, you can knock out some of those tailgate groceries or all of those tailgate groceries once you get out to campus with Mathern's Market. They're in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. That is at the corner of Nicholson and Skip Burtman Drive. That is also directly across the street from Tiger Stadium, right in the thick of it. Yes, absolutely. Swing by Mathern's, grab yourself some beer, grab yourself a to-go plate. Look, if your friend's tailgate did not live up to standard, go grab a to-go plate from Mathern's on game day. They are your game day headquarters, but they're also your headquarters every other day of the week, as they are a full-service grocery store. Now, they've also got a location downtown on 3rd Street that has very quickly become a Baton Rouge staple, the Mathern's on 3rd. Let's make the Mathern's on campus about the same when it comes to if your commute takes you up and down Nicholson Drive, you can swing by, do your grocery shopping right there. In fact, if you download the Mathern's app, you can do your grocery shopping before you leave work. They bring it out to you. It's Mathern's, downtown on 3rd, and right across the street from Tiger Stadium in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. All right, we're going to get you to news here in just a second. Before we get you to news, though, I saw this one earlier this morning. Not sure where it's going to go. Lawyers for American basketball star Brittany Griner on Monday filed an appeal against her 9-year Russian prison sentence for drug possession, Russian news agencies reported. Griner, a center for the Phoenix Mercury, if you're scoring at home, and two-time Olympic gold medalist, was convicted on August 4th. She was arrested in February at at an airport in Moscow after vape canisters containing cannabis oil were found in her luggage. Griner's counsel said after the conviction, the sentence was excessive, and then in similar cases, defendants have received an average sentence of about 5 years, with about a third of them granted parole. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I do want to ask the question. You think this is going to go anywhere? Do any of us take a look at this story from the outside in and think that a 9-year sentence is anything but political posturing? She's a name. They can get more for her. The talks are underway for a swap. The stiffer the sentence, the more leverage they'll have in a trade. Why, oh why, would they change anything under appeal? And the back end of this question is, do you even look at an appeal, or would that delay any possible swap? No, let me know. Comment on YouTube. It's Mornings with Brian Haldane is where you'll find it. In the meanwhile, we've got to get to CBS News, our own local news, traffic, and weather. On the back end of that news, let's get caught up with Stephen Waguespack from the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Next. Morning, Nina. Welcome in. Byron says her appeal odds are every bit as good as my odds of dating Margot Robbie. I would give you the advantage there, Byron. Oh, okay. I thought classes started next week. I love Kevin's little quips that he sneaks in there. I cannot believe Jim allows them. That's true. Yes, he should be. We've got to call the guest at 8:15, I believe. The Rich Report. I want him to pick stocks. And I printed a lot of useless stuff this morning. Well, I rolled in instead of reading through it before printing it. And then let me print everything and sift through it as the show wears on. And a lot of things I printed. No, that's only once. Okay. You know what? I don't feel like talking about streamlining COVID guidance. Yesterday was hot. Today, probably more of the same. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Marissa Nuzzo. Bagging a married lesbian. Bagging a married lesbian. And neither is an appeal. 738. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time for us to get caught up with the head of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. He is Stephen Waguespack, and he joins us now. Stephen, good morning. Welcome back, man. How are you?
Top of the morning to you, Brian. How you doing, big guy?
Bro, I couldn't be better. So a little bit of rough around the edges this morning because this is the first full week. Like, I love the routine of school. It's hectic as all get out, but you know where everything's going to lay out as the day plays out. This morning,
look, summer's great, but life at some point needs a rhythm, needs order to it.
Exactly.
And when the kids have order, mom and dad can have order.
Yeah.
So look, it's tough medicine to swallow, but after you get past this week, it's going to be back into the routine for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, you let school back in last week, and then you add all the extracurriculars this week. So it's all
just keep telling yourself this: you can't get to opening day in Tiger Stadium without back to school.
Exactly.
And so if you want to sit in Death Valley, you got to have back to school. So look, I'm all in. We're under 20 days, I guess, to kick off. And so this is a good time of year. And back to school. Since you brought it up, let me say this: I think it's fantastic. But it's interesting what's going on right now because at the same time we're going back to school. You got Bessie and the State Department of Education having some pretty important discussions about what they're going to do with accountability with our school system.
Oh, yeah.
And, this is coming off of, Bessie's decision a couple of months ago to waive graduation requirements because scores were so low that they're worried about kids not being able to graduate. This is coming off the heels of the governor vetoing parental choice legislation in the last session because we're so desperate to give parents more choices and better options for their kids' schooling. And so, this is coming off the heels of us ranking some of the lowest scores in the country. We've got increasing numbers of dropouts of kids who can't read at third grade level. All the warning signs are tough. And so right now there's a pretty important discussion going on at Bessie about what to do with accountability and what to do with letter grades, which is how we tell parents the quality of public schools. And there's an interesting difference of opinion going on right now. The superintendents and the school boards and those groups are saying accountability is too tough. It needs to be watered down. Letter grades are bad. They put too much accountability on us, and maybe should be done away with. And there's groups like us and others who are saying, look, improving accountability is important, but coming off of the heels of all these bad numbers and all these tough decisions, it's really important to embrace rigor wherever we possibly can because we're worried that we're going to lose a generation here if we don't really put some pressure, accountability, and, yes, expectations on the school system. And that's what we're having some discussion right now. We hope Bessie takes the high road and does something in the next couple weeks on that.
So, yes, accountability does need to be there. And even if Dr. Brumley's side is overshooting it, did you see that quote in The Advocate from Michael Falk, who says, we're not opposed to accountability, but superintendents and school systems have to implement all this? Wouldn't that be like me walking into Flynn's office and saying, here's why I deserve a raise and you have no say over it?
Yeah, we're all for speed limits, but I'm the one that controls the gas pedal, so I should be able to choose what speed I want to drive. Yeah, that makes no sense. Okay, and so look, the school system is going to continuously advocate like they have for decades in saying that we need less accountability, we need more money, and less oversight. That's what they want. That's what they've asked for, and largely it's what they've gotten over the years, and that's why we have the system we have. And so I think there is a growing frustration at the parent level on not having true options, on being told their schools are so great, but then they're seeing on the back end their kids are not scoring on ACT like they should, or they're not succeeding in post-secondary or job situations like they should. And I think there's an awakening happening with parents. And, I think I'm hopeful that Bessie and the department sees that, hears that. Mm-hmm. I want to commend the department and Bessie for pushing back on that weak argument by the superintendents. But at the same time, I want to also push the Department of Bessie to go even stronger than they're talking about right now. Because right now, there's too many loopholes in the current system. Right now, a school can put a kid in a work keys type situation. It can be kind of a dumping ground for them to get points, but not prepare kids for the next situation. Everyone knows it's there. And the question is, do we have the ability to strengthen that system, close the loopholes, and demand more from our schools? If they do that, what's going to happen is we're going to have less A and B schools in the state. Now, the superintendents think that's a bad thing. I think that's a transparency thing. That's going to tell parents the truth about the level of their schools. And if we give parents choice on top of that, then parents for the first time ever in Louisiana can go sit down with their principals, their superintendents, and their school board members and say, we expect more, and if you don't give it to us, we're going to walk. And I think that's coming in Louisiana. It may not be till after the next election cycle, but we need to push as hard as we can now to make sure that we can give that choice and transparency and accountability to parents as fast as possible.
Next legislative session being a fiscal session, do you see all the parental choice bills coming back up again?
I hope so. I mean, look, the governor's made it clear he doesn't want to sign it because the superintendents and school boards are lobbying him pretty hard to veto them. But, you know, I'm hopeful that maybe if there's some tweaks that can be done, maybe some way to kind of, make some adjustments to the bill as long as it doesn't water it down. Hopefully, we have to keep trying. And, especially the ones that dealt with special needs bills, parental choice.
Yeah.
And Representative Rhonda Butler, I know you've had her on this show. I mean, she just put her heart and soul into that bill.
Yeah.
And, she's optimistic that she can make some adjustments to her bill and convince the governor to sign it next year. So, look, we're going to keep pushing. And it's either going to happen next year or it's going to be a tidal wave the following year with a new legislature and a new governor.
We're talking with Stephen Waguespack, the head of Stephen Falk says the state needs an accountability system grounded in appropriate outcomes rather than reducing the number of high schools with a certain letter grade. How else would you define appropriate outcomes?
I would find it as more honest and transparent. That's how I would define appropriate. I think he would define it as, hey, look, you have to feel sorry for us, and you have to allow us the ability to be reasonable in expectations. And they want to grade their school's performance against themselves. That's basically their big ask. He's like, look, if I'm school A and across the street school B, you should only grade us about what we have historically been. It's the only thing. That would be like LSU declaring that they are the national champions because they're better than the 1999 version of themselves. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. I mean, the competition in the real world is if I'm a customer and I got Walmart on one side and Target on the other, I'm going to know which is the better option for me, and my feet will do the walking and the talking. In the school system, they don't want to provide the transparency. They just want you to walk into the door, and then once you're in the door, they want government to put a fence around you and not let you leave. That's not fair. That's not right, and that's not going to lead to better expectations. And so that's the battle of ideas right now, and hopefully we can get some bold reforms out of Betsy soon. And if not, hopefully in the next election cycle, we could bring some bold leaders in who will want to drive that.
That's the kind of thing that's not going away, but we will put a button on it right now because we got other stuff to tend to. Inflation Reduction Act, it's not going to reduce inflation. Basically, everybody has sounded off at this point saying it won't reduce inflation. How do we make our way through this? Because it looks like it's got a number of other priorities. Everybody's touting the climate change. This is going to put the onus on the backs of a lot of Louisiana businesses just to keep up without having any effect on their bottom line, positive effect on their bottom line.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you got to feel sorry for I would say two types of people. One, our delegation. I think our Republican delegation in Congress has done a pretty good job of understanding what Louisiana needs in terms of economically and energy production wise, and they're just not going to be able to get anywhere with the current climate in D.C. And so they're banging their head against the wall. I know they're frustrated, but I know they're optimistic for November. The other people you got to feel sorry for, look, it's not even the businesses, it's the customers, it's the consumers. Because what that bill does is basically it raises about $750 billion in new taxes on corporations. And look, if you poll that, that sounds great, let the corporations pay it. But any enterprise, whether you're a government, a business, a corporation, or whatever, when you have that increased cost in this type of economy, you're going to pass it on. You have to. And so that $750 billion in taxes is going to be passed on through the services that they provide, the goods they make and produce. So whether that is a valve, a gallon of energy, whether that's a widget, whatever it is, they're going to put that into the cost. And so at the end of the day, consumers and customers, the ones that are hurting right now with high inflation, with a stagnant economy, those costs are going to trickle down to them. So I don't know how they can convince themselves in D.C. that raising taxes is going to help with inflation when it's only going to drive up some of those costs as those costs are pushed on. So look, it's hard to argue against silly math. There's so many people in D.C. who are willing to stand up for silly math, but I commend our delegation. They're fighting. They're working hard. And I think after November, you're going to have more balance in Washington, and maybe we'll get some more balanced legislation out of it after that happens.
Got about 2 minutes left with Steve. Y'all got some stuff on the calendar coming up. I guess we're a little more than 2 months away, but you get the Workman's Comp seminar. You get the Free Enterprise Awards coming up in November. Y'all are stacking up for a busy fall.
Yeah, this is kind of where we, in the summer after session, we kind of recharge. We go out and visit with our members. We got our scorecard coming up pretty soon where we'll kind of like put a bow on that whole issue of session. But right around the corner in October, Workers' Comp Conference, there's sign up going on now. If you or your HR person in your company, you have workers' comp issues, you're trying to figure out what the latest laws are, how to comply, how to make sure you protect your interest. We put on the best workers' comp conference every single year. We update you on what happened in the legislature this year. What are some trends to look for? We bring in the best experts in the state. You don't want to miss it. And sign up on our website at lobby.org right now. It's here in Baton Rouge in October. It's absolutely the best one on workers' comp issues, if that speaks to you. We're also doing sign up right now for our Free Enterprise Awards. And so if you or a partner of yours or a business you're affiliated with has done something impactful this year, you've made a difference in Louisiana, come on to our website, sign up, and nominate yourself or someone you know for a Free Enterprise Award. Each year, we recognize the leaders in this state, the businesses in the state making an impact. It's a fantastic event. We got that coming up. We're looking for nominations right now. And so those are just a couple of things we're doing. We're bringing our entire congressional delegation in October. We're bringing in some D.C. policymakers also. We're going to talk about what are strategies for this year in D.C. and also what's coming up in the next election cycle in November. If you want to join our federal outreach tour in New Orleans, you can also sign up on our website for that.
He is Stephen Waguespack.
You're the man, Brian. Look forward to a great school year and football season.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Tigers. My mic sounds awful. I know. Neither do I. So let's do this. Let me turn on the volume on the YouTube. So I guess I need to talk a little bit. So, do I sound awful? I sound fine. This is weird. It sounds fine on my end. It's got to be something with the interface, though. Maybe it's feeding. It seems to be only when I'm on the air. Or is it doubling the rollback? Do I sound muddled or echoed? So apparently when I'm talking during commercials, it's not like that. So, guys, the backstory here is we installed some new software. It's going to be a hell of an upgrade very, very soon. But it looks like we're working out some bugs along the way. I appreciate y'all's patience. Hopefully it's not so bad that you got to tune out. But I appreciate y'all's patience along the way. It's just, we'll get through it. Anna says, I could barely hear you. I checked another YouTube and it's fine. Muddled or garbled? Amber says, can I go completely off topic and ask, why is LSU playing in New Orleans? Did I miss something wrong with the stadium? No, this is one of those big preseason games, or one of those our early season games. How really you draw the big opponent, you play at a neutral site. What Chick-fil-A does one over in Georgia. Sorry, Chick-fil-A. Advocare does one. They're the big headliner games that only a handful of teams get to play in. I sounded fine until the middle of Garrett's interview. It's got to be this new software. But the problem is I don't know how it's the new software. Once the software is off and running, the software should be off and running. Complete collision. Okay. I could tell it's going to happen. Just zero energy over there. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I honestly don't care. I'm just messing with you. Troy says the Wharton School had the most polite response to impact in the Inflation Reduction Act. Statistically indistinguishable from zero. I know. And Congressman Carter last week was completely dismissive of that. He's like, well, if you choose to follow some outside agency who has an agenda. And I said, well, then how about the Congressional Budget Office? Does the CBO have a say on this? $7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks again to Stephen Waguespack for hopping on board last segment. Alondra's very embarrassed. We're just going to move on. Hey, we're going to get you to CBS News here at the top of the hour in just, 4.5 minutes from right now. We're going to get you to the outside in 60 seconds from right now. Tell you every day about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. They do a fantastic job, and I can speak to this firsthand because I am a customer of Complete Collision Center. Due to my own ignorance, I backed into a light pole one day. Thought I just had to have a dent popped out. No. You pull off that back bumper and, oh my goodness, there was hidden damage. Oh my goodness, there was more to be done. The safety redundancies built into your car, the crumple zones and the like built into your car, they're there for a reason. And once they're compromised, your safety is compromised. The folks over at Complete Collision Center know how to get down and dirty with it. They know how to get to the root of the problem. They know how to find the hidden damage. They have the ICAR Gold Class certification and the certifications of more than a dozen major manufacturers that say so. 768-9898 is their phone number. 768-9898. CompleteCollision.com is the website. When you get into an accident, there's a lot of things happening all at once. Is everybody safe? Is my car okay? Do I need to move it out of the middle of the road? Those sorts of things. Is everybody in the other car okay? A lot of things are happening at once. You need to know where you're taking your car before you take your car there. That's why I tell you about Complete Collision Center every single day. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. Time for the outside in. Let's roll.
The Outside In, presented by BRPT Lake. With 6 locations and extended hours to fit your needs, BRPT Lake has got you covered. Schedule online now at brptlake.com. The Outside In is coming your way now.
This town, nowhere. Where are we going to go? Starting off in Lafayette, Mayor President Josh Guillory is back after a 21-day stint from an in-person rehab program where he's getting treatment for alcohol addiction and post-traumatic stress disorder from his frontline combat in Iraq. Lafayette City Council and Parish Council were notified Friday morning via email from the city parish attorney Greg Logan that Guillory was back in town. Friday's announcement comes 18 days after the initial statement about his plan to seek treatment was issued. Jamie Angel, Guillory's deputy chief of staff and spokesperson, said Guillory is scheduled to return to his office today. Heading down into Orleans, a standoff between barricaded inmates at the Orleans Justice Center and the sheriff's office started Friday and continued through yesterday. Sheriff Susan Hudson said she released the letter that was sent by inmates and denied accusations that food and water have not been offered to those locked inside of a high-security pod. This is crazy. The inmates barricaded themselves inside the pod late Friday. Hudson says that to this point, and this is as of late last night, the standoff has remained nonviolent. On Sunday, several of the men in that pod could be heard yelling for help to people outside. A few were holding signs asking for help. Hudson said the residents of that pod had refused to return to their cells. She said food has been offered to the inmates 3 times Saturday, 6 a.m. noon and 5:30 p.m., and so far twice on Sunday. She also said attempts to bring medication to the prisoners has been refused as well. They've got a list of demands. One of those demands, side note, not to get too off track, but one of those demands was to get a TV Saturday night so they could watch the Saints game. Hindsight, I think if they'd gotten to watch the game, it might be worse. Heading back to Lafayette, a man was arrested overnight Saturday after running over a police officer and dragging him with the vehicle during a traffic stop. According to the KATC, Lafayette police officers attempt to pull over 24-year-old Jalen Chavis for reckless driving in the 400 block of Jefferson Street. Chavis refused to stop, leading officers to try and block the vehicle. Situation escalated. Chavis tried to speed away in reverse. He ran over one of the officers, dragged him nearly 100 feet. Police then opened fire, shooting several rounds at Chavis's vehicle in an attempt to get him to stop. No one was hit. This story is still developing. We heard it in national news. It was on America in the Morning this morning. That is the outside in. We are due up for CBS News. After we check CBS News, hour 3 will be coming your way next on Talk 107.3. All right, YouTube, I'll be back in just a minute.
Okay, YouTube, I'm entertaining y'all again. Hey! I'm trying to get my birthdays for the next segment. I don't know what my energy level is going to be at today, so sorry in advance. I'm not feeling it. Just full disclosure. Oh, man. I don't have any off the top of my head. Hold on. Oh, let's do Brian trivia. When is Brian's birthday? Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all can't hear the CBS News, but they were shooting at a Six Flags. Six Flags was my first job when I was 16 in San Antonio, Texas. I worked at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas as my first job throughout the summer. Yeah, Jason, it's Monday, and I also kind of, I guess, TMI, I got dumped yesterday, so that's a lot of fun. Brian seems like a summertime birthday. I actually don't know Brian's birthday, so I like terrible producer, but I don't know his birthday, so I wouldn't be able to tell y'all if y'all were right or wrong. November 9th. Okay, thank you, Debbie. My mom's birthday is November 10th, and she's I think a Libra? A Libra or no, she's a Scorpio, I think. I don't know. I'm an Aquarius. I don't know who believes in that stuff, but I'm an Aquarius. I can't tell Helen Keller jokes. I'm sorry. We really did get an email about the time that I said that, so. My birthday is February 7th, Jason. Are you a January Aquarius or a February Aquarius? Yay, Aquarius! Team Aquarius. February 12th, 5 days after mine.
#806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Alondra producing. We got a busy hour this hour. Oh, I'm fired up for this hour. So we've been taking a bit of a deeper dive into the Netflix series I Just Killed My Dad. The Anthony Tomplay story. And on Friday, we talked to defense attorney Jared Ambo, who was fantastic on the show. It's available on demand at talk1073.com, or more importantly, Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Pull up Friday's show. Fast forward to 7:15. Boom, you got him. Today, we will talk with Dr. Kathryn Lawing. She was the forensic psychologist that interviewed or diagnosed and everything else with Anthony Tomplay as the defense was mounting. I was trading emails with her on Friday about getting her on the show, and she's, obviously everybody involved has to be careful. Number one, we're talking about very sensitive information. Number two, it's still relatively fresh. And number three, everybody I've talked to so far has had a significant want to protect Anthony. It's amazing how his story has kind of, I don't want to say been different than other true crime documentaries, or maybe it's just different because we're on that up close and personal end. But I'm sure Dr. Lawing will be guarded, to say the least, but should be able to shed some light on her examinations and diagnosis of Tomplay. That's coming up in our next segment. Also this hour, Deanna Wallace from Cats is slated to join us. They've got a number of announcements. They're hiring the touchdown, I think it's called Touchdown Tracks. The game day shuttle is back, and a whole lot more, but that's not till later on this hour. We start the third hour of the show, as we do every day, by going back in time. Alondra has got this day in history.
Marty, you've got to come back with me. Where?
A long, long time ago.
Who's coming with me? We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's stain history.
Good morning. It is Monday.
Yes, it is. Good morning.
Woo! Very excited for this week. All right, in 10:50. I'm trying to. Yeah, we're trying to see if I sound normal on the YouTube. Okay,
You sound fine.
okay,
Let's go.
great, awesome. In 1057, that's where I'm gonna start off today. In 1057, King Macbeth of Scotland is killed by Malcolm Canmore, whose father, King Duncan I, was murdered by Macbeth 17 years earlier. Revenge. It's the sweetest. I don't know what.
You can't just leave the blocks and not have the rest of that frame.
No. That's just
It's a
kinda
dish
how.
that's best served cold. By the way.
Sweet. I don't know. Okay, in 1620, the Mayflower set sail from Southampton, England, with 102 pilgrims. Yes.
How'd that work out?
I mean, we're all here, aren't we? I would say it worked out pretty well.
Okay. Nicely done.
In 1914, a male servant of American architect Frank Lloyd Wright sets fire to the living quarters of the architect's Wisconsin home, murders 7 people, and burns the living quarters to the ground.
Whoa.
I know. Imagine your butler just like burns your house down and murders 7 people.
Oh, over an architect.
An architect.
Right.
Frank Lloyd Wright. Someone named Frank Lloyd. Terrible name. In 1945.
Great architect, though.
I don't know any of his work. In 1945, victory over Japan. The Japanese surrender at the end of World War II is announced in Japan. Due to time zones, though, the 14th of August is really the day that it happened here in America.
Okay, I like it.
In 1969, Woodstock opens in Bethel, New York. Whoop whoop. So today, Woodstock, which Rocco was telling us about the 1999 Woodstock.
Yeah, they've got the Netflix thing on that.
Yeah.
And it was awful.
You watched it?
No, everybody's told me not to watch it because it's awful.
Oh, okay.
A train wreck.
All right. In 1970, if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, that's what it says about the documentary.
Awful
Train wreck. Yeah. In 1971, U.S. President Richard Nixon announces 90-day freeze on wages, prices, and rents.
Okay.
Can we get that now?
Probably not.
Bidenomics.
Probably not.
In 1977, wow, it's a possible alien radio signal from deep space received at the Big Ear, Ohio State's radio telescope in Delaware. The sound that was heard, or the signal that they got, is called wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was an alien saying wow.
It might have been. We don't know. We don't.
The claw.
That's what I was.
All aliens sound like the Toy Story aliens to me.
It doesn't matter if they do or don't. In my head, they do. In 1979, Apocalypse Now was released on this day.
You ever seen it?
I have seen it.
Director's cut?
No, I've never seen the director's cut.
You're not old enough. No, like literally. If you started the director's cut the day you were born, you'd still be watching it today. It is long.
Really?
Very, very long.
You know, I watched the director's cut of The Gladiator. That was pretty long.
Yeah.
In 1993, Nolan Ryan has his 324th and final victory with the Rangers. They beat the Indians 4-1. Oh, I guess it's the Guardians now.
Yes. Oh,
The Indians.
He beat the Indians
he beat
because
the
they were the
Indians
Indians when he
4-1.
beat them. So,
Yes.
There was a tweet yesterday that I needed to find again.
Yes.
Was it Travers Mackle had it? Which one of the Mackles is in sports?
I don't know.
No, it's got to be Fletcher. Hang on. Keep going. I'll get back to this tweet in a second.
But that's all I had for the event. So I'm going to go to birthdays. Born on this day in 1769, Napoleon.
Hey.
Yeah. In 1898, Lillian Carter.
Okay.
The wife of President Carter. In 1912, Julia Child was born on this day. Can you do a Julia Child impression?
No.
In 1917, Jack Lynch.
Nolan Ryan's ERA was 3.09 the year the White Album came out.
I saw that.
It was 2.91 the year Nirvana released Nevermind.
I saw that.
Oh, just ultimate badass.
Yeah, he is. In 1964, Melinda Gates was born on this day. In 1968, Deborah Messing. The other day, it was Casey Affleck's birthday. Today, it's Ben Affleck's birthday. He was born in 1972. And in 1990, Jennifer Lawrence was born on this day. I'm going to need help with the deaths.
You had former Steelers quarterback Bubby Brister born on this day in 62.
I didn't have that.
Chiefs offensive coordinator and needs to be a head coach somewhere, Eric Bieniemy. American beach volleyball player Kerry Walsh.
Okay. Wait, I need a quick correction. Amber is saying that Lillian Carter is his mom, not his wife.
Yeah,
That's my bad.
I'm sorry. I was still looking at the tweet. I missed that one.
Might be.
All right. And you had Anthony Anderson?
No.
Anthony Anderson from Blackish is 52 today.
I didn't see that. Like, he wasn't on my list. I need help with the deaths, though. I only had one.
I didn't have any.
Yeah, Wiley Post was killed in a plane crash on this day. It is National Chant at the Moon Day.
We're done.
Yeah.
That's this day in history. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking I Just Killed My Dad. Forensic psychologist Dr. Kathryn Lawing joins me next. You need her phone number. Thank you. I'm trying to share this with Twitter. See if a few more folks can hop back on the show because this is going to be good. Give me 1 second, YouTube. We continue our closer look at hashtag. (818) Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So less than a week ago, I Just Killed My Dad dropped on Netflix. All the headlines of 2019 resurfaced within Baton Rouge. And, well, we took notice over the weekend, or as the week progressed. The rest of the world took notice as well, as the documentary, the 3-part documentary, trending in the top 10 on Netflix heading into the weekend. Since this happened in our own backyard, we've been taking a look at some of the folks that were involved. Last week, we spoke with Jarrett Ambo. This week, we move our attention, or this morning, I should say, we move our attention to Dr. Kathryn Lawing. She was the forensic psychologist who evaluated Anthony Tomplay. She joins us now. Dr. Lawing, welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you today?
Doing very well. First of all, thank you for hopping on board. This has got to be not the easiest of things to talk about because, well, number one, it's still really fresh. But number two, you deal in a very, very sensitive subject matter. So I appreciate you hopping on board.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Let's start at the beginning. What made you want to take this one on?
I receive calls from attorneys or the courts often where there's some kind of a need for a psycho-legal question to be addressed. And what that really means is a psychologically based legal question.
Mm-hmm.
And so those types of questions really fall in my purview based on my training in forensic psychology. And I'm really interested in this intersection between psychology and the law. And so I have a lot of discretion on which cases I take on. And this peeling back the layers and looking at all the data. And these are really involved, complex forensic evaluations. And so I really do like that kind of a challenge. And it requires a tremendous amount of objectivity and intellectual honesty.
That which you can share with us, what did you learn about Anthony during this entire process?
I cannot share any of that, unfortunately. All of that has to remain confidential.
All right, then let's back that up a little bit and talk about what you generally look for when you sit down with somebody. We'll broaden that out to not talk about Anthony specifically, but what it is you look for. What, like, you know, are there certain signs, triggers? What tells you what's in their head?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different kinds of abuse markers that we would look for, or more generally, we're screening for a variety of behaviors, traits, thinking patterns and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so in a case where there is suspected abuse, there's a variety of different abuse markers. There's actually over 20 different symptoms that can be present in PTSD. And so we're looking at all of these and then some. And when we look across the different diagnostic criteria of, for example, PTSD, we're looking to see is what this person experiencing, is that lining up with what we know about it, how it's manifested in what situations, the severity of it and things like that. So these evaluations are not specifically looking to mine out, is this person this particular way. We're really going in as a blank slate and trying to understand this individual as we collect all of this data about them.
One of the things a number of viewers to the documentary have taken away is Anthony's lack of emotion overall. I mean, it was very prevalent in episode 1. Even down to the final, well, I don't want to give the spoiler as to where it's prevalent in the final episode, but there seemed to be a lack of emotion that was taken away from that. Is that one of the general signs that you see?
Yeah. So again, I can't talk about
not Anthony specifically. Not Anthony specifically, but is that something that comes up more often than not during these types of evaluations?
Sure. I mean, the experience of trauma really can produce these very intense emotions like overwhelming fear or anxiety, or even, terror. And these reactions can linger for a lifetime, especially if a person goes untreated. A lot of trauma survivors report these restrictions in their emotional experiences. And that's kind of what you're referring to, is we might even call that emotional numbing or a blunted affect. And people with PTSD, they do have difficulty expressing positive emotions as a result of what I would refer to as re-experiencing states. And so it might be important to talk a little about what, PTSD looks like.
Yeah, have at it then. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What does it look like? Yeah.
Like I said, there's over 20 different symptoms that can be present in PTSD. And what I'm looking for is, or as a forensic psychologist, what we're looking for is we're looking across all these different criteria to determine if someone is having a traumatic response to an adverse event. And there's a number of main areas that we need to see are present in order for them to satisfy that diagnosis. So the first is whether a person is having intrusive symptoms that are associated specifically with the event. So this might be, if somebody's having recurrent or distressing memories of the traumatic event, or upsetting dreams about the event, or sometimes even what we call dissociative reactions. You might have heard these referred to as flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's when a person feels like they're really transported back to when the event was occurring. And so an example of that might be a soldier's returning from war and they go to a fireworks show and they hear the loud boom and they start to duck and cover because the sounds of the blast have really transported him back to those events. One of the other main areas we're looking for is whether the person avoids people, places, things, or situations that are associated with a traumatic event. Are they avoiding particular rooms in the house? Are they avoiding particular people or avoiding going places that remind them of this upsetting event? We also want to see if a person's having difficulty with regulating their mood or having difficulty in their memory or some kind of unpleasant thinking pattern that are related to the traumatic event as well. So one of the last areas, and this is sort of, you hear about this a lot as one of the classic areas, is a person having these heightened states of arousal, physiological arousal or reactivity that's associated with the event. So this could look like a really exaggerated startle response, being jumpy, but it can also look like trouble sleeping or concentrating, things like that. So those are all the main areas that we're looking for to determine if a person's experience of adverse events has later led to a traumatic response.
We're talking with Dr. Kathryn Lawing, a little bit more of a deeper dive into not the psychological evaluation of Anthony Tomplay, but just PTSD in general in these types of cases. Kathryn, you said that these traits, these symptoms can last a lifetime. Is it can or will? Are these things that you can, I don't want to, forgive my phrasing, rebuild yourself?
Yeah, I think it's important maybe even to back up a little bit and to talk a little bit more about what happens with this emotional numbing and to talk about where do we go after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned, what is emotional numbing and why would a person have that? What's going on with that? People notice, that certainly happened based on their perceptions of the documentary. So we know that when people become saturated with all these negative emotions after a traumatic experience, they basically stop allowing themselves to feel their emotions or their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And this can happen across their everyday lives. And there's a lot of reasons for this. So experiencing those feelings or emotions can really just be too painful. Or maybe they don't have the energy to devote to those feelings. Or maybe it's easier to be emotionally detached, or they've trained themselves to be emotionally detached. And so you can see how in these ways emotional numbing really makes sense, because trauma, it leaves such a powerful imprint on anybody, and it feels overwhelming. So I think almost any, go ahead.
Oh, no, please continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to finish up and say that, almost anyone can relate to feeling so flooded with emotions or feelings that they just quickly become overwhelmed. And the same is true with PTSD. So the solution is, to detach themselves from those emotions, which would result in this emotional numbing.
Okay, let's broaden this out to society as a whole. How intense does the trauma have to be in order to get to that point? And Dr. Long, I ask you this, looking at what we faced as a nation and as a world over the last 3 years, there is a trend of emotional numbing across the board when it comes to everything from politics to COVID headlines to everything else that we wake up to on a day-to-day basis. We've gotten to a point where this is becoming more and more prevalent.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't have to happen, solely in the context of someone who's experiencing PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people feel oversaturated with, the 24-hour news cycle or lots of bad news coming their way, whether that's in, the global news or their personal lives. And so absolutely anybody can experience this, not just someone who's faced childhood adversity.
Meanwhile, though, and I don't want to detract from the level of intensity that he had to deal with. I mean, that's clearly, you're talking about two different scenarios altogether, but it's important to remember this all went down before the global pandemic that we've all experienced in the wake of that time. Continuing along that rebuilding process is important. How in depth does that have to get? Basically, is it harder to undo than it is to do?
I would say that person can absolutely go on to live a very happy life with minimal or even no lingering symptoms of PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do know is getting professional help right away is super important. And that can actually buffer a person down the road from later unpleasant post-traumatic symptoms. And there's a number of different evidence-based mental health therapies that exist now that are specifically designed to reduce PTSD symptoms, and they're actually quite effective. These need to be done, of course, with a licensed mental health professional who is specifically trained in trauma therapies. What's really fascinating and emerging in the public health literature is that in addition to evidence-based mental health therapy, it's super important for a person to have just one loving, supportive person in their lives. And that can actually help buffer from the long-term effects that trauma does to us from a physical and mental health perspective. So having that one person to hug, that we know that they unconditionally support us, that acts as a super important buffer. And we actually know that the more people we have in our lives that are loving and supportive, it can really reduce the odds of this risk of later adverse outcomes as a result of trauma.
Last one before I get you out of here, and I greatly, greatly appreciate your time this morning. When we see that emotional numbness and when it comes to fruition on screen, the perception can be that there is the lack of numbness would be a lack of empathy or a lack of a moral compass. How important is it, and I'm not speaking just about Anthony, but how important is it for the people that view this show to realize that there's a difference there?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So I think what's important to understand is that people specifically who have PTSD or who've experienced these childhood adverse events, they're capable of experiencing and expressing the full range of emotions that were available to them pre-traumatically. So as we're someone that lacks a moral compass, what we're really talking about is someone who lacks empathy. They may even exhibit callous and unemotional traits. And this person's living without a sense of principles, that determine their actions and whether those actions are wrong or right or proper. So these are two very distinct concepts. And emotional numbing, is again due to being incredibly overstimulated by positive or negative feelings or stimuli. The other is an internalized set of values that guide a person to behave ethically.
She is Dr. Kathryn Long, she's a licensed psychologist. She was the forensic psychologist that evaluated Anthony Tom Blake. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I got so many more. I got like a dozen more questions, but we're just straight up out of time. We missed CBS News. Let's check our own local news, traffic, and weather. Coming back next on Talk 107.3. Come on over. You're going to be taller than me because for some reason this chair sags. Yeah, it's not the easiest. I'm sorry. Commenting on the Supreme Court's ruling on abortion. Right? We've had numerous issues. Like for this, the hydraulics are completely out. So I just use this as a side table now. We had 2 chairs like this. The other one of the wheels fell off of it, and I fell over on air. Well, on YouTube, which, by the way, we're always on YouTube. So, yeah, it was fun because like the chair like tilted back, like where the missing wheel was, and it was either like fall into the fall and go straight down, or fight the fall. It ended up hitting my head, so I fell into the fall, and then there turned into this whole debate about whether or not I was faking it. Yes, that'll move that on around. Right about here.
Glad I got to catch the end of that. I binge watched the show last night.
Yeah.
So it was
So
fascinating.
go back to Friday's show, and I recommend doing it on YouTube and not. Well, the audio is just fine. The audio's on talk1073.com, but the YouTube channel, Jared Ambo was in studio.
Oh,
so yeah. I'm working on 3 more. One of which might be a little while because. So, I'm working on, everybody else who was involved, up to and including the girl who did the DNA search. Yeah. Yeah. So. All right, what do we got going on YouTube? A loving pet can help fill that void. Yup. Let me email her back real quick. (8:31) CBS News. Here's who's available for 2 ways this morning. Well, CBS sent out the email telling me who's available for 2 ways at 8:31. 2.5 hours, half an hour left to go in the show. Here's who can talk to you. I'm awful. Did you want to try to lower it?
Oh yeah, we could try it.
Better?
That's a little
okay. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, we had the job fair last week, so we can skip that one.
Okay.
UMO launches today, so
Well,
that's a good one.
let's ask how it went. The contactless pay thing?
Yes,
Okay.
that launches today. And then Touchdown Tracks, you can start buying tickets on Friday.
Okay. Do you have numbers on how it did last year?
We had a limited space
Because
because
of
of COVID.
Yeah. Okay.
So not the not the most impressive numbers. We could only put 15 people per bus, which is not very many. But we're back to full capacity, and so we can load you up and take you to the game.
Good deal. Oh, yeah. Snap. Hang on. Gone is the daily rain, at least for now. And gosh, when the electric bills come in, it'll be missed. Today's high is supposed to get up to 93, overnight low tonight down to 75. There's less than a 10% chance of rain in the forecast today. Tomorrow's high 94, Wednesday's high 94. Now looking all the way ahead to Thursday, you got a 60% chance of rain back in the forecast with a high of 88. Friday's high is only topping out at 81. So let's hope this heat isn't too long lived. Right now we're at 81 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge, still looking at 84% humidity. $8:39. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks again to Dr. Kathryn Lawing, breaking down a little bit about the Netflix series, or she wasn't breaking down the series so much as what she does. And I know she couldn't get too specific about Anthony's case, but fantastic insight nonetheless. Shifting gears now to talk about the capital area transit system. A lot going on. Deanna Wallace is with Cats. She joins us. Deanna, welcome back to Talk 107.3. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
No, glad to have you back on again. Okay, we got to start with last week, and then we'll move forward after that. Y'all had a job fair.
We did, yeah.
Everybody's having trouble hiring right now. How'd the job fair go?
It went really well. We had a really good response from the public, and, you know, it's a struggle for all transit systems right now, especially since the pandemic, to get operators, mechanics. So we're doing our best to make sure that we can provide the level and quality of service that Baton Rouge deserves.
See, most people hear job fair at Cats and they're thinking nothing but bus driver, but this covered a lot more ground than that.
Absolutely. We have customer service representatives, we have the operators, and we also have mechanics. And there's some administrative staff positions we're looking to fill as well. And you can check all of those out on brcats.com.
brcats.com. All right. Moving on to the new news, moving on to the stuff that will be actually in effect as of today. Y'all are moving towards contactless pay.
Absolutely. We are launching that today. We're having a little launch celebration over at 2222 Florida to officially launch UMO, which is the contactless pay.
Okay. How does it break down? How does it work? How does contactless pay work for the bus?
So you can either use an app on your phone or you can get a reloadable card. If you choose the reloadable card, you can manage that online, or you can go to 55 different locations across town to reload it with cash.
The app on your phone, this is, do most Cats users, frequent riders, they're using their smartphones on a day-to-day basis within the bus, or?
You know, it's not a percentage necessarily that we have as to who uses the phones and who uses the paper passes or cash, but we wanted to offer it at least. Yeah. It makes everything faster. It helps you to save money, actually, too. So one of the cool features of UMO is that if you are taking multiple rides in a day, for instance, once you get up to $4, which is the cost of a day pass, it automatically upgrades you to a day pass, and you don't spend any more that day. The same thing works with our weekly pass and our monthly pass. So once you spend that much per month, it automatically updates you so that you're not spending extra money.
So for those that want the app, that's easy. You just go to your app store. For those that want the card, they got to come down to headquarters, or how does that work?
Yeah, right now you have to come into the terminal and get the card. But then again, we have all these participating vendors where you can reload it, or you can do it online if you have a bank account.
Get started today. We need to get you back on in a month or so to see how it's taken off. I'm curious about that, because it's people are creatures of habit.
Yes.
And introducing something new is always a challenge. So we'll check on that down the road. Speaking of down the road, we're not too far away from football season.
I'm ready.
And we were talking during the break about the touchdown tracks and where it was at last year. Touchdown tracks is back. Let's set the table for what we can expect this year.
Absolutely. So one of the problems we talked about on the break was last year we had strict limitations on how many people we could take on each bus. That's gone.
Yeah.
So we can now hopefully take up to several thousand people during football season, and it's going to be $10 for a round trip.
Yep.
We pick up at 3 different locations, 2 downtown and also LaBerge. We take you to the game, drop you off by the softball fields, pick you up after the game, take you back to your car, so you're not stuck on all that crazy traffic on campus.
Yeah, LaBerge on the one side, downtown it'll be basically Pastime is where it's at. Or no, I'm sorry. I-110 at Florida is where one is, and Indigo is where the other one's at. My bad. So 110 at Florida, and Indigo is the other. How did y'all determine those locations?
We've been using those locations for a number of years. It seems to be somewhere that is safe and accessible to people, so we're going to stick with it.
So Touchdown Tracks was gaining in popularity before COVID hit. Now, you'd mentioned you had restrictions last year. You said, what was it, 15 at a time?
15 at a time, yeah.
Were you able to sell those 15?
We did sell the 15,
Okay.
and people are very interested in this, and we're hoping to continue to grow it because we know that it's a win-win for everybody. LSU is interested in helping congestion as well. We've been partnering with them on this, especially for the LSU Southern game. That's going to be crazy.
Ginormous, yes. And I'm sure LSU appreciates keeping a few cars off campus.
Yeah.
It's easier on the front end than the back end. You don't have to fight the traffic getting in. You don't have to fight the traffic getting out. If you're leaving the game by starting at Florida Boulevard, like let's say you're driving from Denham Springs to go to the game, why not just shoot straight up Florida, pay your $10 round trip there, and you've beat the traffic on the way out because you're on a bus.
Absolutely. And we start service 3 hours before the game, so you have a little bit of time to tailgate, have some fun.
Yeah.
And we run for a whole hour after the game as well.
But during the game, it starts 3 hours before, but it cuts off when?
So I don't know if there's necessarily a cutoff on getting in. Our buses stay on campus because contraflow, you can't come back in and out. So they're just sitting there. They have a little TV set up so that the operators can watch the game with everybody else, and then for an hour after the game to get out. So you gotta come find us within an hour, but it's a lot of fun.
All the home games, and you can go to. Sorry, give me this.
brcats.com.
I keep forgetting if there's a BTR. It's just brcats.com. brcats.com. It's the Touchdown Tracks, and it was gaining in popularity before COVID hit. We get Deanna Wallace in studio for a couple more minutes. In fact, we got about 3.5 more minutes before we got to get out of here. How's everything else going on right now?
It's going great. We're learning and improving every single day. The people at Cats, they are devoted to this community. They live here too. They want their neighbors to have the connectivity that they need to get to work, to get to loved ones, to get to hospitals, things like that. So, our motto is that, or our mission is that we want to connect you to what matters. And I think that we are striving for that goal every single day.
Coming out of a rough patch with some headlines recently, how has that been managing that?
It's always an interesting day whenever you get the Chris Nakamoto call.
Mm-hmm.
But, like I said, I work with some amazing people, and being able to share their stories and being able to promote all the good work that they are doing is very rewarding for me. I enjoy it.
brcats.com is the website. Is there another job fair in the works?
We're going to have one in the fall, hopefully October, November, so I'll definitely let you know.
Okay, yeah, I greatly appreciate it. She is Deanna Wallace with Cats. I greatly appreciate the time. Hey, we're about to hit a break. We're going to hit your money now here in less than 2 minutes. In the meanwhile, got to remind you about the folks over at, no, I already did Complete Collision. My bad. Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Houcheteux down in the southeastern portion of the parish. Look, a productive day starts with a great night's sleep. A great night's sleep starts with a great mattress. Go visit my buddy Mitch Kimball over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Like I said, 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City. I went by, it's been more than a year now. I've been on my new mattress for more than a year, so I guess I can stop calling it my new mattress. But what an absolute game changer. We went with the Sealy Beauty Rest Black Label in the Haldane house. Queen size Sealy Beauty Rest Black Label. Look, go over there, try out as many mattresses as you can. Lay down on them, give them a test drive, if you will. Mitch is going to make sure you walk out with the mattress that's just right for you. 930-5779 is the phone number, 930-5779, or just swing by. They're on the corner of Jefferson and Houcheteux in the southeastern portion of the parish, or right there in Mid-City on Florida Boulevard. All right, we're not done just yet. We have a lot more ground to cover after we check the Your Money Now. When we come back from this break, we will close things out. I had one more thing to get to before we hit that break, and now my computer is not cooperating with me, so it's going to take a second. Earlier in the show, we were talking with Stephen Waguespack about this upcoming battle between the state's superintendent of education and the School Superintendents Association. Here's the long and the short of it. Dr. Kay Brumley wants tougher standards, a better grade for schools across Louisiana. Those who are working within education are saying, ease up a little bit. We've been dealing with a lot. Slapping a letter grade on us might not be the fairest thing around. There is going to be an upcoming battle brewing over this, and we're going to dig it deep into it. The Advocate had a fantastic article on it this morning. If you have not yet checked it out, I highly recommend checking it out. We'll pick it back up on the back end of the break, but I don't want to say battle lines are being drawn because this shouldn't be framed in that sort of way. But there is going to be a huge debate had about schools in this state, and the guy who's at the helm of the state right now is bringing a perspective that I don't think we've seen in our public schools, at least not in the recent past. There's new ideas being pitched. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Hey, before we get you to Your Money Now, got to remind you about dropbiscuitstudios.com. You're going to want to check out dropbiscuitstudios.com. Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. It's there. Scone and Tea is there. Only in Louisiana is there. My podcast, Cool Story Bro. You're going to find that one there as well. Southern storytellers telling Southern stories. These are our stories with our storytellers. We put this thing together. It's called Drop Biscuit Studios. You're going to want to check it out at dropbiscuitstudios.com. Alrighty. Yeah, I needed one more good kill the mics for a second. All right. Sorry about the all the off-air conversation, y'all. There's hopefully future conversations that get into something real. $8:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Thanks again to Deanna Wallace for hopping on board. Also, thanks to Dr. Kathryn Lawing, forensic psychologist, for joining us as well. Fascinating stuff from Dr. Lawing. I hope that conversation wasn't too disjointed. So it's difficult to ask about the subject of a documentary without asking about the subject of a documentary. So did my level best to pivot questions to make them about what we saw while not specific to Anthony Tomplay. Anyway, if you missed it, it'll be available on demand at talk1073.com after the show this morning. As we were heading into the break, I was teeing up what we were going to talk about in this last segment because we talked about it earlier in the show. We went over it a little bit with Stephen Waguespack, president of LABI, earlier in the show. The headline, Will Sentell writes at the Will Sentell doesn't write the headlines. The headline, push to revamp public schools sparks split in education community. Quote, time to raise the bar. Will Sentell is the writer of the article. And within it, they talk about Dr. Brumley, Dr. Cade Brumley, State Superintendent of Education, Dr. Brumley's plans to raise that bar. Quoting from the Advocate, it says, under the plan, students would have to pass 2 college-level exams, earn 12 hours of college credit, and meet other criteria for schools to land an A rating. Students who qualify for a high school diploma without additional credits would generate no points for their school. We had Dr. Brumley on, I guess it was last week, and I'm already looking forward to the next conversation because I have a question about that in particular, and I'm make no bones about it. I'm a big Dr. Brumley fan. I like where he's tried to have us head since taking over. I know he has his detractors. I know there's folks out there that dislike him in this post, and that's fine. But since taking over, it's been all COVID and hurricanes, and he has not had a chance to really get after where he wants to go. But that being said, students would have to pass 2 college-level exams, earn 12 hours of college credit, and meet other criteria for schools to land an A rating. It's going to bring up a bigger question. Are our high schools meant to provide a high school education, or are they college preparatory schools? And there's a difference there, especially in today's world. There is a difference there where going to a technical school, going to some kind of learning a trade is every bit as viable as college. We were on this path where it was college or bust for the longest time. Now we're seeing that's not the case in today's world. So if the viability of college, or the value, I should say, is slightly less than it was in the past, shouldn't that take less of a toll on how we're grading high schools? Don't have an answer for you right now, and we won't for some time. Just one of the many questions we're going to be stacking up on top of this as the conversation moves forward. That being said, the idea that the school should be in charge of the school's evaluations is just downright silly. All right, we got to get out of here. The Fox News Rundown's coming up next, followed by Brian Kilmeade, followed by Dave Ramsey, followed by Jada Cody. Thank you so much for listening on Talk 107.3 FM. YouTube, I got to go to my Monday morning meeting. We will see you tomorrow.